Back in January, I decided that I was gonna put my laptop on this desk over here and connect it to the charger and never disconnect it again. And I knew that was bad for the battery, but I knew it was really good for my mind. A lot of people in the older generations love to rag on people in the younger generations, but something that I found that I love about the young people nowadays is that they're breaking away from the internet and all the horrible stuff that's on it, and they're finding ways to get rid of that toxicity in their life. Now, I was brought up in a generation that didn't really get internet until we were, around 15, and yeah, I didn't get my first iPhone until I was 17. I had a flip phone before that, but really, I grew up for the majority without internet. And then around 15, I started going on the internet, and I could definitely feel a sharp drop off of the quality of life. And I am grateful for the experiences I've had. I had this wonderful campground I used to go to in the summer. It was far off in the country, and there was no internet. And I am so grateful that I got to have my teenage years and have that experience of the summers without the internet. And I feel like these young people now that are teenagers in the moment are realizing what the internet has taken from them, because you spend all day locked away in your room playing video games, looking at Instagram, scrolling endlessly and seeing all the horrors of the world, and you almost know too much, and it's like you want to get back to that ignorance is bliss. And I realize ignorance being bliss isn't necessarily a good thing, but it is a feeling of relief and a feeling of actually getting to be young and have your adolescence and learn and experience and grow and become a person, before you get on the internet and before you get tangled up in all the complicated politics of every individual minute thing. You should grow up and feel your body getting bigger and becoming who you are and have these experiences. Get out there, talk to people, have your first relationships, make a sandwich, just a very big sandwich, and just enjoy it with your friends. Watch some horror movies. Nothing says you have to be on the internet. Nothing says you have to be aware of all this stuff. And I think the internet has changed people's minds and views of, like, yeah, you have to be socially aware. You have to be constantly conscious of every single minute thing. And I've been breaking away from that too. And I've been trying to get rid of that mindset of constantly being aware. When I started going on the internet, I was taking a photography course back when I was 15 with this art school, and I got my mom bought me a MacBook Pro just to, participate in that photography class, and it was really nice, and I did love it. But after that point, I started, adults on the internet would send me links to videos of people getting beheaded, and it was horrifying. There were all sorts of terrible things. There was horrible memes, very, very racist stuff that I was seeing at too young of an age. And it was influencing me. It made me, shrivel up and get down inside myself. I was a very confident kid. I knew a lot of stuff. And I don't know, I feel like the internet took a lot from me, because I was hitting all the landmarks. I was a very, like, cool, normal, well-adjusted kid, and then the more deep I got into the internet, the more you could see me sort of slipping away. Once I graduated and became an adult, I still had the MacBook Pro, right? So I was sitting there watching endless amounts of YouTube, learning everything I could about politics and everything I could about, I don't know, the obscurest facts about Minecraft and Pokemon, and, just bathing myself, drenching my brain in this constant flow of dopamine that was keeping me so distracted and addicted to it. And, I didn't break away from that until quite recently. Back in January, I decided that I was gonna put my laptop on this desk over here and connect it to the charger and never disconnect it again. And I knew that was bad for the battery, but I knew it was really good for my mind, because keeping it there makes it so that I don't spend all day there, because that chair is mad uncomfortable. So I just won't use the laptop all day. I used to lay in bed on my stomach with the laptop right in front of me and watch YouTube basically 12 hours a day, any day I had a day off. And it was bad. Anytime someone asked me to do something, physical, get up, do something, my body, it felt like it was aching. It felt like misery, because it wasn't because my body was hurting. It was because my mind was so addicted to the constant flow of dopamine from these all these videos I was watching constantly and this constant entertainment, that breaking away from it was like felt physically painful. It was psychosomatic. And breaking away from that, I finally found myself, actually having time. There's so many hours in the day, and people are always saying there's not enough hours in the day to get stuff done. But if you break away from that thing that is connecting you to the internet, that is constantly flowing into your brain and giving you that dopamine that you're addicted to, if you can break away from that, there are so many hours in the day. I mean, seriously, I get so much done now. I do Duolingo every day. I make videos pretty much every day. I do drops. I've been working on my novel. I've been editing that, and like there are so many things I like to do, and I'm finally getting out more, and I'm losing weight. Being with the computer for so long, I ballooned up to 575 pounds, and you could tell that it was because of the laptop. I was so numb to the world around me. I was so completely brain dead that I would just lay in bed with the laptop in front of me and eat Doritos and Oreos, just an infinite, constant amount of it. And it was horrible. And I didn't realize this kind of agony that I was in doing it constantly because I was so blinded and numb to it because of the computer. The computer kept me numb, and the chips made me fat. And it was this vicious cycle of just getting fatter and lazier until eventually I realized I had to stop. And finally, in January, I put it on the desk, and it's stayed there ever since. And I have made leaps and strides. Like, I was on TikTok for 3 years, and I was on YouTube for 10, and I never made any money. I made 15 cents the entire time I was on TikTok, and I made no money the entire time I was on YouTube. Then January comes, we get a little bit more videos on YouTube. In February, I make my first money, $200, and then every month after that, I've been making more and more money on YouTube, just because I broke away from the laptop, and instead of using it for infinite entertainment, I only use it to do my job and edit videos. And the rest of the day, I'm spending, getting out. I'm spending it walking. I'm spending it, spending time with people I know in real life. I'm thinking of new video ideas. I'm learning French. I'm learning and studying the harmonica, hobbies that I never had time for, but I always wanted to do. And I think teenagers and young people are seeing this too. They were introduced to iPads, to laptops at such an early age, and even in their school, they had to learn on laptops, and that was brutal. Like, I remember when I was in the 8th grade, it was my final year of middle school, and the middle school got laptops, and that was a weird experience because it was a completely different idea of what learning meant. There was time for gaming in it. Like, if you finished your test first, you could pull up a game on your laptop and then do that. And there was like different games we would play. Like, they would set up a slideshow thing, and it took the social aspects out of learning. Like, before, there was like conversation open in the classroom, and there would be like a person talking directly to you, but instead you're learning through these online courses. You're just reading stuff on a screen, and it hurts your eyes after a few hours. And I think there's a lot of psychological damage that comes from that, from spending all school day on a laptop and then coming home and being on your iPad and watching 6 hours of YouTube before it's time for bed. And that's just no way to live. And the young people are realizing that. The young people are realizing how unhealthy it is to just be on screens all the time. And I think the parents had a lot to do with that. The parents, they would ground their children, right? And they would take away the computer. And then for the brief moments where they were aware, they would be like, hey, you know what? I'm doing stuff. I'm actually experiencing the world. And I don't know, I think if the parents hadn't made the decision to separate them from the screens once in a while, I think the kids, may have been sucked in completely by it, and then, I don't know, maybe taken down the alt-right pipeline or something. And that's a scary idea. A lot of young people are being taken far down the alt-right pipeline, farther than I've ever been. And it is scary. It is scary seeing the violence and vile like attitudes in a lot of comment sections of like young people who are having these feelings that, like, when I was when I was their age, when I was 14, 13, I never even knew the words that they're saying. Like I was like walking around like, hey man, did you see the new Godzilla thing? They're making a new Godzilla movie. That's gonna be pretty fun. Yeah, we're going to the tie-dye dance together. That's gonna be awesome. Oh man. Oh, do you want to go swimming at the lake? It's gonna be fun. Yeah, man. And now, I don't know. I guess we did say swear words back then, and we did a little bit of stuff that was too far for us. But like the stuff they're saying, it's like they're like, I don't know, grown ass political dissidents. It's horrifying. And I realize that in this moment I'm sounding a bit like an old fogey, like, oh, of course, young people have always been doing, vile stuff. This has always been. I don't think so. I legitimately think, and it's not like our parents' generation. Like there was my parents' generation, and they did some stuff, right? And then there was our generation, my generation, right? That did like some stuff that was like maybe a little bit worse than there, but then there's like this generation that's young now and it's like skyrocketing to be just absolutely brutal. And I think there's a big social aspect that comes with the screen, with the separation, You could tell that people who were bullies at school, when you got to talking to them on the internet, they were a lot more verbally wild, which destroyed you on an emotional level. There was a physical level at which they could, burn you with a lighter, or they could like sneak up behind you with one of them electric tennis rackets for killing bugs. But really, when they're behind a keyboard, the only thing that they can do is hurt you mentally. And that, I don't know, almost feels worse, right? Because like to destroy you on a psychological level is different, and you have to be a bit clever to do that. It's almost like the nerds have become the bullies, and the people that play sports and participate in activities, they're the popular normal kids that are getting out there, and they're just like well adjusted and stuff. And I don't know. And the nerds are the bullies now, and I just find that really, perplexing and vexing. It's like the complete opposite of the old system. And I think the popular kids, the cool kids, are learning, that they can't let the nerds treat them like this. So they are breaking away from the internet. Like a lot of kids nowadays, they're getting rid of their iPhones and they're just getting a flip phone, something that they can call and text on, so they're not on it all day. They're not on social media all day, and they can just get in contact with their parents when they need to, and that's it. That's all they do. And then they go around, they hang out with each other, they go on their bicycles just like when I was young. And that's something that they've been really enjoying. And I've been seeing a lot of young people talking about it, talking about how they only go on social media when they're on their computer at night, and that's the only time. And maybe they'll play a bit of video games. They'll play a Pokemon game, something wholesome. A lot of people are moving away from the gritty, dark first-person shooters. I remember when I was a teenager and the whole internet thing started breaking out, a lot of my closest friends were into Call of Duty. And now Call of Duty is basically a dumpster fire. Nobody wants to play it anymore because it's been the same rehash of the same game over and over again. And honestly, it's just too edgy. A lot of people are moving back to the Nintendo products, which honestly, Nintendo has been going strong for many years. It dipped down at the Wii and then completely flatlined at Wii U, but now it's back. The Nintendo Switch is fantastic, and a lot of young people, me included, I'm not super old. I'm only 26. Uh, and yeah, I honestly like the Nintendo Switch, and I've played the PS3, I've played the PS4, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, and they were too gritty. They were too dark. Sometimes you just want some cartoon violence, or you want to pet a little animal. You don't always want to be blasting out people's brains through the back of their skull. That's too vile. It's like too much for a person. There's some edgy people out there that just love to do that really realistic violence, but that's not everybody, and it's pretty far from everybody, actually. I think there's a lot of people that really like just a basic, cartoony, simplistic game that makes you have fun and just lets you play around and enjoy being in that world. And I think people are realizing that, they're waking up to that, that not everything needs to be this gritty, realistic, weight of the world type of stuff. Like sometimes things can just be fun. And that's where I see the Marvel movies coming in, right? Marvel movies, they're not Citizen Kane. They're not going to be something that absolutely changes your life. They're not going to be something that, you know, changes society or the world or makes you think about things a different way. It's just a fun little romp that you can come in, sit down, be entertained for an hour and 45 minutes and just turn your brain off and enjoy, you know? It's like Jurassic Park or Back to the Future, you know, those things that are like, hey, you know what? That didn't change my life, but it is hilarious and I love it and it has characters that I know and like, and I think people are picking up on that, that they don't want, countless readaptations of the same dreary bullcrap. They want something fun, something that's going to be entertaining, something that brings a quality to their life that makes them feel good for a time. Seeing a Marvel movie has become sort of an activity for me and my friends. When we go to a movie theater, we are going to see something that a lot of other people have seen so that we can engage in the conversation, online or with other people. And we are seeing it because it is characters that we know and have come to be familiar with. And it is just like sort of something that can be a nice moment to share with each other. And I think, Marvel, a lot of people rag on Marvel because it's not life changing, it's not dark, it's not Citizen Kane, but it is beautiful in its own way. And people, young people especially, are enjoying the Marvel movies because there's a social aspect to it. You see these gritty, realistic movies, and they just sit in a pocket in your brain, and you remember them, and nobody wants to talk about it because I don't know, it was just dreary. It was sad, and you don't want to bring that up in conversation. It's a bummer, but you bring up the Marvel movies and everybody's face lights up. They're like, yes, I love Rocket Raccoon, and seeing that sympathetic retelling of him, where it's, his origin, you see the pets, the little animals that he was friends with, and it's just cute, it's fun. And it was sad, a little bit sad, but not so sad that it breaks your heart. I teared up during that movie, I will admit, but it was full of fun and friendship and beautiful messaging about, the relationships someone builds and found family. And that is what people want to see. People don't want to hear about the heartbreak of some criminal. They want to hear about a guy who's trying his best every day to do what needs to be done. And Rocket Raccoon did not take revenge on the High Evolutionary. He left him there. And granted, the thing he was flying in did blow up, but Rocket tried his best to let him live. And that was nice. It was a sweet message.